Good evening and welcome to the Toronto Debating Society. Today is Tuesday, April 17th, 2012, and the resolution for this evening is we expect too much of our celebrities. To start, I would like to welcome the Prime Minister, who will speak for 7 minutes, Christina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, honorable opposition. Now, tonight's motion is we expect too much of our celebrities. So the way that we define this is that we is the society in general, and we expect the celebrities, singers, athletes, and actors. And we expect too much of them to be role models and perfect human beings. So now we're going to tackle this from 3 angles. So the first one is singers, second one is athletes, and the third one is actors. So the first point that I would like to address is singers. Now I'm going to use Britney and Rihanna as our examples. So let's take a look at Britney Spears first. Now, I think it was about 10 or 15 years ago, she was very popular and very successful during her time, and was even dubbed as the next Madonna. And then after a couple of years of going into the success, she became a little bit heavier, and probably due to the pressure, and the public criticized her because they expected her to maintain her image and continue her success. Now, as mentioned, it was probably due to the pressure that somebody at such a young age, I think she was about 16 or 17 back then, and it's reasonably to anticipate them to snap, and she did. She lost it one day and decided to shave her head, and started partying and did recreational drug use. And it was a huge issue back then because if you had opened up her pictures when she was doing those things were plastered all over the news. And she faced enormous criticisms from parent groups. They weren't happy with the way that she carried herself and decided to criticize her because she was expected to be the role model for teenagers. Another example that I want to bring up is Rihanna. She faced criticism after being a very high-profile fight with Chris Brown, who was her former boyfriend. And of course, he was wrong and should never hit her in the first place. The public was all the rage and criticized her because she was expected to maintain distance from her, from the man that physically abused her in the first place during the relationship, because she was expected to be role models for girls. And think of the way that her talking to the man that once physically abused her would have that impact. So the public expect entertainment, so these singers like Britney and Rihanna to be role models for teenagers, basically their entire fan base. So there is a certain level of expectations that we should expect them to do, which is what they're getting paid to do. It's to perform, it is to sing, it is to sell out concerts. They're not getting paid to be role models for teenagers. And think about it, when you're in high school or you have a son or daughter in their teenage years, how would you react if every single thing that they do are constantly criticized by the media, constantly criticized by the public, so that they are expected to be perfect? But what you're forgetting is that they, just like us, are human beings, and they too make mistakes. And we all have made mistakes during that period of time. So the second point is that I want to address is athletes. So we all know a particular athlete that is very high profile. He plays golf. He's arguably one of the best golfers ever lived. His name is Tiger Woods. And Nike gave him a contract. So he was endorsed $27 million contract from Nike because he was great at playing golf. He was fantastic. And they didn't give him the contract because he claimed to be faithful to his wife. That's not what he got paid to do. He got paid because he was a terrific golfer. And when the news broke out, the media constantly followed him, watching his every move, and it was on every newsstand. It was in every magazine, you name it. It went on for a good couple of months, the whole charade. Now, infidelity happens a lot in our society. You know, it's not something that would be front page news unless it's a celebrity. So, you know, it's except for the people. You know, if you turn on daytime television, you see these people that goes on Jerry Springer or the Maury Povich shows. They would have those issues as well, but they don't make the front page news. Just because that he was Tiger Woods, he was successful, he was rich, he got paid a lot, they expected him to be perfect. So which brings us to my next point, actors. So I would like to use Charlie Sheen as an example. So he was the highest paid actor on TV, earning lots of money per episode. And this guy just pretends for a living because that's what they're getting paid to do. So he had a drug problem, got kicked off the show, and it was in the news. So I know a lot of guys who have drug and hooker problems. I see them on, you know, Wall Street, bankers. So just because that you're famous like Charlie Sheen, you have that exposure, and you must be perfect, otherwise the world criticizes your behavior. So celebrities in their industries, like movies, actors, entertainers like singers, sports, they're in there for one reason only. They're good at what they do, which is what their job description is. And they're not coming up with economic resolutions. They're not solving world hunger. They're not curing cancer. So we have no right to expect them. Therefore, we expect too much. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Responding to the Prime Minister's speech is the Leader of the Opposition. Please welcome Eric.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Nice job, Christina. However, I've asked you to try to believe that we expect too much of our celebrities. Of course, nothing could be further from the truth. No, we do not expect too much of our celebrities. Indeed, we expect too little from this fortunate group. If any group of people in society could and should be expected to contribute a lot, it is the celebrities. The ones who are lucky enough to be celebrated and popular. The ones who usually, as a result, are the very ones with the exceptional resources of time, fame, ability, and money at their disposal. They have friends in high places, great media exposure, personal trainers, handlers, the best of advisors, and all kinds of advantages the general public do not have. The only things we expect too much of, perhaps, out of our celebrities are too much plastic surgery, diva behavior, and flaming out, like Charlie. But none of those count as expecting more, really. They're just the opposite, expecting less. And often, in fact, many people thrive and take great pleasure from this bad behavior, from this fall from grace, from this fulfillment of the expectation of less. And it could also be argued we don't expect too much from our celebrities because much is what they're there to provide in the first place. Much talent, much wealth, much beauty, much outrageous display, much strutting, much entertainment, much pleasure, much for the rest of us to dream of and aspire to. We do not expect too much from our celebrities because it is the stuff of much from which celebrities are made. And that very muchness is what we should, of course, expect. Sometimes, in fact, we demand that our celebrities do even less than the little we expect from them already. Let's be honest. It's sad but true. When it comes to our celebrities, we prefer them not too highfalutin. Your latest cause du jour? Oh, please, who do you think you're kidding, Mr. and Mrs. Celebrity and your beautiful child, Celeb Jr.? We know you're just in it for the attention. And no one asks for or wants your unprofessional opinion. Sit down or stand up, whatever. But just shut up, please, and just look pretty and leave the good deeds and political opinions to the real experts. Almost every time a celebrity tries to pitch in, they get criticized. Every time they try to pull out of the celeb mafia, we pull them back in. They try to over-deliver, we try to drag them back into the ditch. Yes, folks, in reality, most of the time, the fickle and not so adoring public demand that celebrities do less rather than too much. In fact, do we ever expect our celebrities to continue indefinitely to succeed and inspire? Hardly. We depend on them to fail. Their failures, it feeds our hope and stokes the magazine racks. Let's look at some examples. From the entertainment world, TV, music, and movies and music. Sean Penn, in 2005 in New Orleans, he literally rolled up his sleeves and waded into the floodwaters of Hurricane Katrina. He then founded the Make It Right Foundation to rebuild the community. Harry Connick Jr. also helped rebuild homes after Katrina. And what did the never-satisfied public say? Did they say, hey, thanks, Harry, appreciate your hands-on help, Sean? No, largely their charity work met with a good deal of cynicism. Of course, not all celebrities' good works do meet with such cynicism. George Clooney was just recently arrested for staging a protest outside the Sudanese embassy in Washington, D.C. to bring attention to that country's plight. But what we love about this is that we did not demand or expect this of George. He's just that kind of guy. William Shatner. With him, we never demanded good acting, or good singing, or even good taste. On the contrary, we love him because of, not despite, his boorishness. Amy Winehouse. Terrible behavior was a large part of her celebrity, the booze, the drugs, the attitude. Like Janis Joplin and Billie Holiday before her, it's the pain they conveyed that was a huge part of their celebrity appeal. It was not good, nice, pleasant, or attractive behavior we wanted from them, just the opposite. Wow, all that pain and suffering, how can we get a piece of that, please, the public asked? Paris Hilton. She breeds us a fantastic two-headed pink chihuahua, a truly incredible blend of science and art, displaying the very best of mankind's talents and geniuses. And how did we respond? Stick to the movies, Paris. Do not overreach. Screw the pooch, Paris. Screw the pooch. And what about the celebrities where too much, say, actual talent clearly was never demanded from them? The Lindsay Lohans, the Britney Spearses, the Justin Biebers, the Lady Gagas. Ooh, we love you, we adore you, please sign my tattoo. Don't worry about your negative contribution to civilization, it's fine. How about our comedy celebrities? For example, Michael Richards, who played Kramer on Seinfeld. In 2006, he got caught making racist comments at the Laugh Factory. And what happened? How was he punished? The whole fiasco has been used for more laughs on such shows as South Park, Family Guy, and Curb Your Enthusiasm, where in season 7, he actually got to play himself being a racist again. Great role, what fun. From the world of political celebrity, Al Gore. He takes his valuable time by giving us that important documentary, An Inconvenient Truth, to warn us of nothing less than the fact that life on this planet is doomed unless we change our evil ways. And what did we say? Not now, Al, not now, we're busy, come back later. Then there's Conrad Black and Martha Stewart. Was it expecting too much from these individuals, already very wealthy, that they didn't commit larceny? Too much to not be crooks? In the world of royalty, did we expect Princess Di to actually be a saint? In fact, the week that both the ex-princess and Mother Teresa died, the good nun saw Diana up in heaven. Mother Teresa said to her, I know I have a halo, princess. Why do you have one? To which Princess Di replied, that's not a halo, that's a steering wheel. And still, they're both equally revered, it seems. For the world of sports, we have Tiger Woods. Was perfection as a human being and husband demanded of him? Well, yes, for about 5 minutes. Then it was all 11 again, all his sins quickly and happily washed away. All hail the return of the prodigal son. Did we expect too much from Steve Jobs? Not as far as Steve Jobs was concerned. I could go on to talk about, even in Korea, the celebrities there, one who did a bone marrow transplant, how she fears being the news getting out because of the bad feedback she gets. Do we expect too much of our celebrities? No, we do not. People with far less money, time, and much harder lives still give back to society. So of course, celebrities should be held to a higher standard of giving back. If anything, we don't expect enough from them. For if we can't demand the best from a group who has all the resources, then who can we expect the best from? They're role models for our children, after all, the only heroes we have left. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. And to respond to Aaron's remarks, we have the government seconder, Michelle. Please welcome Michelle.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, most esteemed opposition, of course, Madam Prime Minister. I'm going to start off right from the Leader of the Opposition's final words, ladies and gentlemen. Celebrities are the only heroes we have left. They are our role models. Role models, of course, speaking directly to the resolution as defined tonight by our Prime Minister. The fact that the celebrities out there, our celebrities, are our role models. And if we look at expecting too much, his speech, I will mention, was beautifully written and layered with satirical sarcasm from where I was sitting. So much of what he said was actually funny. Michael Richards, funny. Kramer, funny. That's all funny. And this is a serious debate, ladies and gentlemen. No more are we talking about Paris Hilton and her friggin' dog. So, if we look a little bit to build upon the Prime Minister's comments, we expect our celebrities, and this much actually was said in the Leader of the Opposition speech today, we expect them to be different from us. We expect that they have people to take them where they have to go. We expect that they have money and entourage. They have public relations people. They have people to take care of them. And they live in lavish homes, multiple homes, and they buy yachts for their spouses right before they leave them. But they live this lifestyle that's tongue-in-cheek. They live this lifestyle that's very different from us. Almost fairy tale life. They live in palaces and monster yachts with people taking care of their yachts. They're not scrubbing down the board. They're sailing the high seas. And it's those very standards, those very expectations that we place upon these people that leads us to say, as your government, be it resolved that we expect too much. Our Prime Minister spoke tonight about how they are our role models for our children and for us and for how we conduct our lives. And to hold people who live on yachts and in palaces as our role models is expecting too much. At the very core, they are people. They are just like you and I, and they make mistakes. So if we look at some of how we react to the celebrities as examples of how we expect too much. We spend a lot of time following the media. There are paparazzi out in Hollywood and around the world that follow our celebrities, follow the Britney Spears of the world when they go get their hair cut, when they go out to the corner store, when they're walking their dog. They follow them to get pictures so that it would feed us. It's this insatiable beast that has been created. It's time consuming for us to look at all of the celebrity news. It's expensive. Magazines these days, ladies and gentlemen, People magazine, all the celebrity, I did the whole scope today, the market research, 4 to 16 Canadian dollars. It ranges from a $4 magazine right up to a People special edition for Whitney Houston at $16. That's Canadian, so it's about 20 American if we're looking at that. Feelings of inadequacy can come from how we relate to our celebrities. If we look at the Angelina Jolies or the Brad Pitts of the world, or even the Tiger Woods living in that monster home with all that monster money, yet somehow when we look at how they live their lives, are they really living it to their full potential? And if they can't do it, if Tiger Woods can't keep it zipped up, how on earth are we supposed to do that? Not me, of course, but the men. How on earth are you supposed to do that? How are you supposed to do that? You don't live in a $25 million, gazillion-dollar palace with a, well, I'm sure you have gorgeous wives, but how on earth are you supposed to do that? So if we look at feelings of inadequacy, that can of course lead to anxiety within us. And distraction, our obsession with our celebrities, ladies and gentlemen, can prevent us from achieving our goals as we're distracted by their woeful tales. And the Leader of the Opposition beautifully laid them out for us. Sean Penn and Harry Connick Jr. in New Orleans. George Clooney, I was distracted by George Clooney getting arrested, ladies and gentlemen, for a full 15 minutes, I'll have you know. Shatner doesn't distract me. Amy Winehouse's death was tragic. And if she had all that talent and all that ability, and she wasted away, ladies and gentlemen, what possibility do you have, quite honestly, How can we succeed in a world where she cannot? Michael Richards is always Kramer. Al Gore, I think it was a gazillion people that watched that movie. I might be off by 500,000 or so, but it was immensely popular. Princess Di was a tragic, tragic tale, yet we expected her to be perfect, and the fact that she hooked up with a playboy disappointed us. So, ladies and gentlemen, when we look at our celebrities, we do expect too much. We expect them to be perfect human beings. We expect them to be unattainable, and it results in us spending lots of time, lots of money, and results in feelings of distraction, inadequacy, and obsession in some cases if we look at the stalker industry. Thank you very much for support.
Thank you, Michelle. And responding to Michelle will be the opposition seconder, Louis. Please welcome Louis.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I think the fairer sex here, they put some great arguments together and great definition. However, what they're really asking you to do is to dumb down your ideas. Sit there, have no idea, have no concepts. Somehow, because these people are living in their $25 million yacht, we expect nothing of them? Is that not incredible? Why are they suddenly above the law? Why shouldn't we have the same expectations of them that we have for ourselves? We had examples here, and it's quite happy you can go, oh, Paris Hilton and her dog. No, I'm not going to talk about her. Does she not have $25 million of the yacht? Well, we should have expectations. Why shouldn't we ask Paris Hilton to use that money for good? I think all of us here, we love to debate the topics, and talking about what they do, how they live, is reality. They are role models for us. And you go and look at your children's bedrooms, they are role models, whether you like it or not. And through discussion with them, we should be holding up there, having expectations. Tiger Woods has come up many times tonight. And we say, oh, we expect the perfect of him, absolute perfection. But somehow the government here seems to think that Nike is the same as the general public. We are not Nike, I'm not Nike. Why shouldn't we discuss whether or not he should have affairs or not? Because what did happen in the end was, it was the advertising company that dropped him, not the general public. Go and watch yourself at any golf contest at the moment. He's got an even bigger following now. So I think you're trying to confuse Nike with us. We heard about Rihanna and how incredible it is that she would talk to her former boyfriend, and how somehow we make judgment, we're critical. Have you read the blogs? Have you seen what people say about Britney Spears? It's not all negative. Some of it is positive. It's positive discussions. It's good to talk. We should have expectations. And you seem to have this idea that we are the paparazzi too, that all of us go out and buy the Sun newspaper. We are the ones out there hounding them day after day. That is not the fact. Having a discussion about what our role models do, and you will not get away from the fact they are role models. By definition, as celebrities, we see them as that. And it is possible for these people to live under the radar. How often do we see Johnny Depp, or is he not a role model? Do you not see the good works that George Clooney does? Is that not something admirable that we should have? No. Us in the opposition, we are trying to say to you, it's not wrong to have celebrities. It's not wrong to have ideals and want to have that world. But we are thinking people. We have to consider these things. And we should have discussions. This is not a fault that we have in our society. And why shouldn't we? The opposition, they said, oh, we don't want them solving world hunger. What's wrong with that? I see Sean Penn out there with his dollar bill. We should be asking them to use their money and influence and power. And it is up to us to encourage them to do that. Because otherwise, the government would have it that anybody that's above the law, that above a certain pay bracket, that mediocrity is okay. We shouldn't have aspiration. We shouldn't have dreams. If that is the life that you want, then I say to you, vote for the government. Here in the opposition, we want society to be more positive. We should have expectations.
Thank you, Louis. Now, with a 2-minute response, and we have the opposition summation by Aaron. Please welcome Aaron.
In summary, we ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to defeat the motion with your vote and tell the government that you do not agree that we expect too much of our celebrities. First of all, it was their very muchness that made them the celebrities in the first place, so we have a right to demand more of that muchness, unless they want to slink back to obscurity. And celebrities are generally not expected nor required to be outstanding humanitarians, philanthropists, and role models, although of course it's nice when they are. If anything, we should stop being so darn nasty when they go above and beyond the call of celebrity duty by telling them to do less. Why on earth should people with such privilege, ability, and with every advantage be expected to do less than that demanded of non-celebrities? Oh, and this just in. None other than the very queen of celebrities, Oprah Winfrey, graced our fine town just yesterday. And what was one of her main topics? It was how the motivational speaker, Tony Robbins, helped Oprah turn her fear into power. So you see, folks, no matter how much a celebrity like even Oprah has achieved, she still demands even more of herself. Nothing wrong with that. If she doesn't think she's expecting too much of herself, how can we think that? Clearly, there's a celeb who believes in raising the bar, not lowering it. And when, such as with our sports heroes, the job does demand something more, in this case being a good role model for young people and, winning once in a while, we're not asking those celebrities, who we made into multimillionaires, after all, to do too much. In the case of those celebrities, we expect just the right amount. I ask you, is that expecting too much? Of course not. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. And now for the final summation, we have Christina, the Prime Minister.
So now I'm hearing two things that the opposition has come up with. One is that we should expect more, that we are not expecting too much, and the other one is we don't expect too much. So I wasn't sure. Your points just sort of contradicted each other, and I hope that we can discuss this at the Dark Horse Pub. But my summation is that celebrities in their respective fields, whether it be singing, it would be acting or doing sports, because they are skilled at what they do. Music, acting, sports is what they're getting paid to do. So besides serving us greatly as an entertainment by watching them on TV or hearing them live in concerts, they really produce no meaningful use in the real world. So they're not coming up with the next economic regime, they're not curing cancer, because we shouldn't be expecting them to. And that is not something that they are paid to do. They didn't get into it because they would be great political leaders. They would, of course, it's nice when they do that. That part I agree, but we shouldn't be expecting them. And to place that burden on something that they never signed up for in the first place wouldn't be fair. So in our minds, we think of them as the ideal musician, ideal actor, whatever that we fantasize in our head, which shouldn't be happening. So if they want to go out and have a good time in the clubs, that's okay, because if they want to have affairs, they should be able to do that without getting condemned for it, because these kind of things do happen on a daily basis everywhere. So they're just people like you and I, and should deserve to act in their lives and have their privacy be respected without the societal expectations. And we, beyond doubt, do expect too much from them. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. At this point, the debate is concluded. Thank you for a very interesting debate. Our President Dave is the adjudicator for this evening, and he will join us shortly and speak for 8 minutes on his results. And we will see after he renders his results how they compare with the popular vote. Please welcome Dave.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, first of all, it is my pleasure to adjudicate this beginner's debate. And of course, this is all very surprising because we don't know how the different debaters are going to act under these circumstances. And so a lot of new things to see. So lots of great new material, lots of great new styles, wonderful. So first of all, thank you very much for volunteering to participate in this debate. This was excellent. It was a joy to adjudicate. So first of all, I'd like to talk about the arguments that I saw. The government side, the Prime Minister came out with a extremely well-organized presentation with arguments that were very easy to discern, very easily linked to the definition. In fact, your 3 arguments that you listed at the very beginning are actually the words you used to define the motion in the beginning. Well linked. That was excellent. So very high marks for arguments for the Prime Minister. And then in contrast, I found that it was kind of difficult to discern where the arguments were from the government secondar's point of view, because the majority of her presentation seemed to be about rebuttals, and it was very much conversational and kind of loose around the structure. So it was a little bit difficult to pick out where the arguments began.
You need to go easy on her.
It's all the benefit of learning for everyone. And something that I'll get to that part later. So to the opposition, I found that the Leader of the Opposition speech, while it was excellent, it was actually a wonderful, wonderful speech, and it was very much like a spoken essay. And so in the same way, it was also difficult to discern where the arguments began and ended, in the same way that the seconder for the government was. So it was a little tricky for me to find out where the structure and the underlying thesis was there. And then moving over to the opposition seconder, again, lots of great arguments, wonderful arguments, but again, not as structured. It was just difficult for me to find out where one ends and where another begins. So just if everyone could take one thing away from this about argument, it's just that structure really helps determine the strength and the thrust of the debate. So the clear winner is the government side here from the Prime Minister's presentation. Very strong arguments from all sides. It's just where can I find the clearness and the relevancy of those arguments. That's what I'm looking for. Moving on to content. Lots and lots of great content from both sides. Very well researched, very well utilized all the different resources that are available. The government used, think of kids today in high school as an example, using Nike $27 million as an example. Lots of excellent content on both sides. The opposition just edged out a very slight victory in terms of the content, just in terms of the level, the relevance, and how it was presented as part of their presentation. So good job, opposition. A win on that side there. And as for rebuttal and refutation, what I found that the government seconder did is the government seconder did a great job using the words and arguments and examples of the opposition directly against them in line. That was actually some very devastating rebuttals that were very convincing because you took them right out of the opposition leader's mouth. So an excellent rebuttal. And going back to the opposition again, Leader of the Opposition, because your presentation was very scripted, it didn't allow much room for on-the-fly rebuttals to really clash against what the government's saying. So it's just kind of difficult to sneak it in there when you are a bit over-reliant on the script. And I know that's actually a big challenge to do, especially on the opposition. How can you take your really prepared research, which again was excellent, but it's just you need to have that balance, and that's just something to look for. And your opposition seconder actually had wonderful, pointed, conceptual rebuttals that went right against the core of their issues, as well as the minutiae of their points and arguments. Let me see if I can find some of the examples I pointed out. That society is not Nike. It was the ad company that did it, not us. Like, that is such a high-level rebuttal. That was definitely wonderful. Very well done. So I found that on balance, the government had the superior rebuttal, but the government seconder did. So pardon me, the opposition seconder, a wonderful set of rebuttals there. Moving into teamwork, I found that the government side had partially shared the development of the arguments. There was calling back to what the Prime Minister was bringing up, but it still kind of felt like it was coming from different angles, and that might simply be a side effect of the arguments not being as structured. If the arguments followed the same structure, and I could kind of see how they fit together, and they were supplementary and complementary, that would really help the teamwork point of view. So structure is important, again. Whereas the opposition's point of view, I found that both of them spoke well to the government side individually. It was difficult to discern one central thrust from your case. If there was something you could do to present something that makes it seem like you presented from one central pillar, and these are all subpoints and points of this antithesis, that would be something that would really help. So in terms of teamwork, government edged out a victory on that portion for that pillar. Now going into style and rhetoric, there's actually not very much I can say about this for a beginner's debate. This was actually very well executed. Some excellent style. I know that at least one debater came up to me at the beginning saying they were nervous about it. There was no reason to be nervous about this debate. This was so well put on. I found some very specific points about style, mostly in terms of parliamentary style. Leader of the opposition, I know that you referred to the Prime Minister by name. We just usually refer to "Well done, Madam Prime Minister," as opposed to "Great job, Christina." Very minor, but that's where style points go. And along the same topic, opposition seconder, instead of doing most of your speech this way, I shouldn't say most of your speech perhaps, but a lot of your speech was directed at the government because you were speaking to what the government was saying. But if you would speak more to the House, which is where your votes are coming from and where the adjudicator is sitting anyway, you're not going to convince them of anything. Their minds aren't going to change. So you want to speak to the people who you are trying to persuade. So, but otherwise, a very clear, excellent, well-paced. That was wonderful. And leader of the opposition, I hate to come back to this again, but if you had less of a script and you were speaking up to the audience more often, that would help. So just eye contact, basic there. And let's see a couple more ideas here. For the going back to the government, the Prime Minister, I was a little worried because I could tell where the structure was. I found out that the third point began at the final bell, just as my final bell has gone out now, and I was worried that, is this going to be rushed? And it wasn't. It felt like it was going to be fast, but it was actually very cleanly concluded at the end of the time limit, so an excellent use of time. Some general comments about the entire debate is that I guess this can be specifically tied to the government at one point used parent groups as an example, and I really want to know what was it that parent groups said. I did kind of overhear a bit of the discussion in the room, really looking for what the meat is, what the actual expectations were. If we could have just sunk one level deeper and just try and get to what the actual expectations are, that would really help coalesce this into a fantastic debate. After all is said and done, the government received a point of 53.5 to the opposition's 46. So that actually is a win for the government. So thank you, Mr. Speaker. And see, apparently organization and structure helps. The best speaker for this evening was Louis, mostly for wonderfully done rebuttals and an excellent presentation.
And the winner of the popular vote is also the government tonight. Congratulations. That concludes our debate for this evening. Congratulations to the government side, and also big congratulations to the opposition side for a very well put forward argument.